Okay, so let's follow on this idea of handler registry. Here we go. I created a new file called handler registry. When I open it, it's just an interface. So an idea is that we want to have a handler registry in which we can register the handler. So it will take a command and the actual command handler that it needs to register. And then we can have a resolve handler. It's, once you register, you also want to get those handlers. So then we want to resolve them by the command and then get the command handler out. Pretty basic. But in order to get it done, I also need to make the interface for the command handlers. So that's going to be a little bit more problematic with the whole user state. It's because it has multiple handlers, but this is why you should also not bloat the whole thing right there. But other than that, it's pretty much standard. Okay, what do we do next? So once we have this interface defined, the next thing is obviously to make use of it. So I'm gonna head to the infrastructure. Application can skip a domain sometimes and just go directly to infrastructure, especially when it's like application infrastructure, not like a domain infrastructure. So in here, I made a new folder called handler registries, and then let's start coding it. So I'm gonna make describe. I'm gonna call it in-memory handler registry, because the means of actually registering is just in memory. It's not like I'm gonna have it in local storage or whatever. I'm just gonna keep it in memory, and it's gonna be simple, like in-memory data structure, exactly like it was in the dispatch. So first, it should result registered handler. Here we go. I made a new class. Then I made the command that I want to be dispatching, or actually linking. Then I made a handler. Now I'm gonna make a handler registry. Register handler, pretty much the same as it was before. And then I'm gonna resolve the handler based on that command. And then I expect it to be the same. So pretty much, I register a command with the command handler. And then I resolve it based on the command, so I should get the actual handler. And then I expect that the handler and the one I register in the register handler is the same. It would check exactly the same instance. So let's go ahead and code it. So yes, it's injectable as well. And then let's have a look. So it needs to implement the handler registry. So you can clearly see I'm missing some method. It's gonna be the same. I'm gonna have a handlers and then register method like it was before, and then the resolve is also here. So when I run this, it should be pretty much fine. So now, junior people will ask, why is that better? I mean, it's the same. Well, not the same, at least at all not the same. I mean, and all the single responsibilities and placing things and separation of concerns and all those stuff that you should actually learn is here. It's just better maintenance and easier to reason about and easier to find and easier to extend. I don't bloat things in single class. You should avoid that at all costs. So after moving it here, and passing the test, we need to move to the next refactor stage. And in this stage, I would say, okay, that's better because it's now in separated place and it's also in a correct layer. So that's pretty cool. But what I also need is still the separation of concern. Why is it registry? I mean, registry would make sense if things can be added in at runtime, but this, no, you can just set it up straight up. So I don't like this register handler function. I mean, I think we would benefit if we can set up a config of handlers and provide it in some sort of constructor or something like this. And then just use it. These handlers will not change. I mean, once as a developer, I added all my handlers, I expect them to work from the beginning to the end of my application. Let's add some more elegance to this code. This handler registry interface back to the application layer. I mean, it's not looking good. So let's rename it and remove the stuff we don't need. So let's call it resolver, handler resolver, and as the name says, it should only resolve handlers. So all we have to do is to remove this, and we're gonna be more than fine. All right. So let's make an implementation of it. So as always, we start with the test. So I'm gonna have this in-memory handler resolver. Actually, I can change the name later. And then yeah, it should resolve registered handler. And then obviously very similar stuff. We can have a command handler stub, the actual stub of a command. And now the difference is actually, you can have a look. Instead of like calling this register handler, I just provide an object with the keys of the command type and then the actual handler. So instead of building that inside this registry class, I'm just gonna build it like provide it in the constructor. And we're gonna resolve the same, and then we're gonna actually, see if it's true. So this is a lot more elegant. Like, look at the amount of code. Like, I had to do a lot less stubbing and a lot less like it is clear. Like, even the test, remember the given when then. So this is my given state. This is my when, and this is my then. So this is pretty cool. Like, before I had to call this register handler. You're really calling two things just to get one. So yeah, it is a bit of a code smell. Not always, but it might be. So let's see at the implementation level. So we have an in-memory handler resolver that implements the handler resolver interface, and then we provide those handlers at runtime. We provide those in the constructor, and then we call the resolve on it. Pretty much the same. So now when I run this test, we should be fine. Here we go. Let's go to dispatcher and do the necessary changes. So when we go to the dispatcher, what we need to do is to provide the resolver, and in order to do that, I have to make injection token. I'm gonna call it handler resolver. It's gonna be a private with the resolver parameter and then the actual interface implementation. So, and then in the dispatch, what I'm gonna do, pretty simple, is first I'm gonna resolve the command. Notice I don't assign it to any like constant variable. It's like, you don't need it. So, and then I call it handle on it, and then I handle that command. And as you can see, it's still void, and I remove the register handler. So how is it gonna look with the tests? Well, we're gonna go here, and how do we actually set it up in Angular? So the whole magic happens in here. So for the handler resolver, this is just an interface. Actually, it's not injection token. Like, I'm gonna make injection token later in the videos, and then use factory, and I'm gonna make a user state as a dependency, and then I'm gonna use the in-memory resolver handler. And as you know, I need to provide the handlers as the parameter of my constructor. So here it is. It's pretty much a command stub.type that has a handle method. So I'm really faking a class in here. I mean, it's an object with the handle arrow function property. Normally it would be a class and stuff, but yeah, this is just a simple stuff. So in here, I'm creating this like extra layer in between the state, which calls the specific method, and the UI and command bus, because yeah, this way I can now use multiple handlers to know about the state, but the state doesn't know about the handlers. So that's also a little bit cleaner, and also I can add some extra stuff like logging, or I could be like piping these observables, or doing more stuff to it. So there is a slight benefit to it as well. So when I run those tests, we should be fine. Yeah. So that's pretty good. I mean, we have a separation of concerns and stuff like this, but it's still not there yet. I mean, a couple of things I don't like about it. Well, first of all, I don't like this dot type on the command. So this dot type, what you do is it's just a string. What if someone makes a mistake? Well, then you can put it to some sort of like an enumeration. Yeah, you can, but it's still gonna be a little bit dirty. I mean, just to have it like, I wish there was an easy way to go about it. So one way to go about it would be to actually use something like this. So let's say I have my command handler. It doesn't really matter actually, what is it? Let's say if I have a class and then assign it sort of like this, then what I can do next is to call the dot constructor dot name, and then I get the name of the class in runtime. That's true, but when you run Angular with the prod flag, you're gonna lose that information. So everything is gonna work on your local machine. Everything is gonna work probably on a test environment, but as soon as you move to prod or anything that builds the application with the prod flag, you're gonna lose that, and you're gonna like get into a lot of errors that will make no sense to you because Angular minimizes those class names. So you will not receive it again. So don't do it. I tried that. What else don't I like about it? Well, I don't like that, this handler resolver is just like a string like this, where it should really represent the injection token. Another thing is what I don't like is also this configuration file will become pretty big. I mean, this is only one command, but what if I have 100 commands, 300 commands? I mean, you can easily have 300 commands in a big system. So this config will be very big. Yes, you can move it to like separate config file, but as I mentioned before, like if I have to scroll more than like 2 screens, that file is too big. Yeah, you can split it in smaller pieces and stuff like this, but again, you sort of like, you don't solve the problem, you just like avoid it. So there are many ways actually what to do about it, and I want to show you the next level stuff.